was a Friday evening and I decided to come home earlier than usual. I wanted to surprise my wife Sarah with a quiet night together. As I walked into our house, everything seemed normal at first. The soft hum of the refrigerator, the familiar scent of her perfume lingering in the air, it all felt comforting. But then I noticed something strange. On the kitchen counter were 2 glasses of wine, one of them still warm, indicating it had been recently used. My heart started to beat faster. This wasn't right. Sarah never drank alone, and we weren't expecting any guests. I followed the muffled voices I could hear coming from the bedroom. With every step, my pulse quickened. Reaching the door, I pushed it open without knocking. There they were, Sarah and another man, Mark. They both looked up, shocked by my sudden appearance. Sarah's face turned pale, and Mark scrambled to cover himself. "John, I can explain," Sarah stammered, tears welling up in her eyes. I stood there, my mind racing. Betrayal, anger, sadness. Emotions swirled inside me like a storm, but I managed to keep my voice steady. "Explain what, Sarah? That you've been cheating on me?" She broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. "It was a mistake, John. I never meant for it to happen. Please, you have to believe me." Mark, still half-dressed, awkwardly gathered his clothes and muttered something about leaving. He didn't meet my gaze as he slipped out of the room. I let him go without a word, my focus entirely on Sarah. "I need some time to think," I said, turning away from her. "I can't deal with this right now." I left the house, needing space to process what I had just witnessed. The betrayal was like a knife in my heart, twisting with every beat. As I walked aimlessly through the streets, a plan began to form in my mind. I couldn't just let this go. I couldn't simply forgive and forget. Sarah needed to understand the depth of her betrayal, and I needed to make sure she felt the same pain I was feeling. Over the next few days, I played the part of the wounded husband perfectly. I told Sarah I needed time to decide what to do, giving her false hope that I might forgive her. But inside I was seething, plotting my revenge. I reconnected with old friends, including Lisa, a former colleague with whom I had always shared a special bond. As we spent more time together, the old feelings resurfaced, and our relationship quickly became something more. Sarah grew increasingly suspicious as I spent more time away from home, but I convinced her it was just work. She seemed to be trying harder to fix our relationship, but I remained cold and distant, fueling her anxiety. One evening, I decided it was time to execute my plan. I brought Lisa home, knowing Sarah would be there. We walked into the house, and the look on Sarah's face was priceless. She was utterly shocked, tears streaming down her cheeks. "John, what's going on?" she cried, her voice breaking. I looked at her calmly. "Now you know how I felt, Sarah. This is what betrayal looks like." We sat down and talked about our relationship. I told her that the trust was gone and that I wanted a divorce. She begged and pleaded, but my mind was made up. I couldn't forgive her, and I needed to move on. As the divorce proceedings began, I moved into a new apartment. Lisa was there for me every step of the way, providing the support I needed. Months passed, and the divorce was finalized. Sarah left town, and I started a new chapter of my life with Lisa by my side. Surrounded by friends and family, I felt a sense of peace. I had made the right choice. Life continued, and I was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The days following that fateful evening were a blur of emotions. I avoided Sarah as much as possible, spending long hours at work and crashing on a friend's couch. Whenever I returned home, Sarah would look at me with pleading eyes, hoping for a sign of forgiveness. But I had none to offer. Each time I saw her, I remembered the scene in our bedroom and felt the knife twist deeper in my heart. My resolve hardened as I relived that moment over and over again. Forgiveness was not an option. I needed to make her feel the same betrayal she had inflicted on me. I needed her to understand the depths of my pain. That's when the seed of revenge began to take root. One night as I lay awake, staring at the ceiling of my friend's guest room, an idea struck me. Lisa. I hadn't seen her in years, but we had always had a connection, a spark that never quite ignited because of the boundaries we respected. It was time to rekindle that connection. The next day, I reached out to Lisa, We met for coffee at a quaint little cafe we used to frequent. Seeing her brought back a flood of memories, her infectious laugh, her warm smile. We talked for hours, catching up on our lives. I didn't mention Sarah or the betrayal. I just enjoyed the company of someone who genuinely cared about me. Over the following weeks, Lisa and I grew closer. We started meeting regularly, dinners, walks in the park, even a weekend trip to the beach. It felt natural and easy. Lisa was a breath of fresh air, a stark contrast to the tension and heartache I felt at home. With her, I found a sense of peace I hadn't felt in a long time. Meanwhile, at home, Sarah's attempts to mend our relationship intensified. She cooked my favorite meals, left sweet notes around the house, and constantly asked if we could talk. I responded with cold indifference, my mind fixated on my plan. Each act of kindness from her only fueled my determination. She had no idea what was coming. One evening, after a particularly pleasant dinner with Lisa, I decided it was time to take the next step. I invited her to my place, knowing full well that Sarah would be there. Lisa was hesitant at first, sensing something was off, but I assured her it would be fine. We arrived at the house, and as soon as we walked in, I could feel the tension. Sarah was in the living room, her face lighting up with a hopeful smile when she saw me. That smile quickly faded when she noticed Lisa by my side. "John, what's going on?" she asked, her voice trembling. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. "Sarah, I'd like you to meet Lisa. She's someone very special to me." The color drained from Sarah's face. "John, please." "Not like this." I remained calm, my voice steady. "This is how it felt, Sarah. This is what you did to Yus." The confrontation was brutal. Sarah broke down, pleading for forgiveness, but it was too late. I told her that I wanted a divorce and that our relationship was beyond repair. She begged, she cried, but I stood firm. The trust was shattered, and there was no going back. As I packed my things, preparing to move out, Sarah watched in silence, her eyes red and swollen from crying. I felt a pang of guilt, but I quickly brushed it aside. This was the only way she would truly understand the pain she had caused. I moved into a new apartment that week. Lisa was my rock, helping me through the transition. She understood my need for closure, for a fresh start. We spent more and more time together, and slowly, I began to heal. The divorce proceedings were swift. Sarah and I had no children, and no joint assets to squabble over. It was a clean break, as clean as such things could be. Within a few months, it was all over. Sarah left town, unable to bear the memories of our broken marriage. Life with Lisa was different. It was filled with laughter, joy, and an ease I had never experienced before. She brought light into my life, and for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful about the future. Surrounded by friends and family, I began to rebuild. The pain of Sarah's betrayal lingered, but it no longer defined me. I had made my choice, and I was ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. Life continued, and I was determined to live it on my terms. The months following the divorce were a whirlwind of new beginnings and bittersweet endings. Settling into my new apartment, I threw myself into decorating it just the way I liked, something I hadn't been able to do in years. The place became my sanctuary, a physical manifestation of my fresh start. Lisa was a constant presence in my life. Her support was unwavering, and our relationship grew deeper each day. She had a way of making me laugh, even on the darkest days, and her optimism was infectious. We spent countless hours exploring the city, discovering hidden gems, and simply enjoying each other's company. Yet despite the progress, I couldn't completely shake off the shadows of my past. Late at night, when the world was quiet, memories of Sarah and our life together would creep into my mind. The betrayal still stung, but the pain was dulled by the realization that I had taken control of my destiny. One evening, Lisa and I were having dinner at my apartment. The ambiance was perfect, soft jazz playing in the background, candles casting a warm glow. We talked about everything and nothing, our conversation flowing effortlessly. "John," Lisa said, her voice hesitant, "can I ask you something?" "Of course," I replied, curious about the sudden change in her tone. "Do you ever regret how things ended with Sarah?" she asked, her eyes searching mine for an honest answer. I took a moment to gather my thoughts. Regret? No. I think what I feel is more sadness. Sadness for what we lost, for the way things had to end. But regret? No, I couldn't live with her betrayal. Lisa nodded, her expression thoughtful. I just want to make sure you're okay, that you've truly moved on. I reached across the table and took her hand. Lisa, I'm more than okay. I'm happy with you. You've helped me see that there's life after betrayal, and for that I'm grateful. She smiled, squeezing my hand. I'm glad to hear that, because I have something to tell you. I raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What is it? Lisa took a deep breath. I've been offered a promotion at work. It's a big opportunity, but it means I'll have to move to Chicago. The news hit me like a punch to the gut. Chicago was hundreds of miles away. We had just started to build something together, and now this. I struggled to keep my emotions in check. That's amazing, Lisa. It is. But what does it mean for us? Lisa's eyes were filled with uncertainty. I don't know, John. I want to be with you, but this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I don't want to lose you, but I also can't pass this up. We sat in silence, the weight of the decision hanging heavy in the air. I knew how much this promotion meant to her, and I couldn't be the one to hold her back. Yet the thought of her leaving was unbearable. Maybe we can make it work, I said finally. Long distance, I mean. We can visit each other and stay connected. Lisa smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Maybe. But it's going to be hard, John. Hard. The next few weeks were a blur of preparation and goodbyes. Lisa's move to Chicago loomed over us, casting a shadow on our time together. We tried to make the most of it, savoring every moment, but the impending separation was always in the back of our minds. The day of her departure arrived too soon. We stood in the airport, holding each other tightly, not wanting to let go. I'll miss you, she whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. I'll miss you too, Lisa. More than you know, I replied, my voice thick with emotion. We kissed one last time, a bittersweet farewell, and then she was gone, disappearing into the crowd. I watched until I could no longer see her, my heart heavy with a mix of pride and sorrow. Life without Lisa was an adjustment. The apartment felt emptier, the days longer. We talked on the phone every day and video called as often as we could, but it wasn't the same. The distance was a constant reminder of what I had lost and what I was trying to build anew. Yet, amidst the loneliness, I found strength. I threw myself into work, took up new hobbies, and reconnected with old friends. I realized that while Lisa was an important part of my life, I had to stand on my own 2 feet. The pain of Sarah's betrayal and the void left by Lisa's departure had taught me resilience. Months passed, and the pain began to fade. I learned to cherish the memories without letting them define me. Sarah's betrayal was a chapter in my life, but it wasn't the whole story. With each day, I became more confident, more at peace with my past, and hopeful for the future. As I stood on my balcony one evening watching the sunset, I felt a sense of calm. The storm had passed, and I had survived. Life was moving forward, and so was I. The next chapter was waiting to be written, and I was ready to embrace whatever it held. The months rolled on, each one bringing subtle changes to my life. With Lisa in Chicago, our relationship had transformed into something more tenuous, reliant on digital connections and infrequent visits. We did our best to keep the spark alive, but the reality of the distance made it clear that our paths were diverging. One weekend, Lisa came back to visit, and we spent a wonderful few days together, reminiscing and enjoying each other's company. But as the visit drew to a close, we both knew it was time to have a serious conversation about our future. John, Lisa said gently as we sat on my couch, her hand resting on mine, I think it's time we face the truth. This long-distance thing, it's not working. I don't want to lose you, but I also don't want to keep holding on to something that's causing us both so much pain. I looked into her eyes, seeing the same mix of sadness and determination that I felt. I know, Lisa. I've been thinking the same thing. I don't want to let you go, but I also don't want to be the reason you can't fully embrace your new life in Chicago. We sat in silence for a moment, letting the weight of our words settle. It was a mutual decision, but that didn't make it any easier. We held each other tightly, knowing it was our last embrace as a couple. After Lisa left, I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. The end of our relationship was another chapter closed, another piece of my past put to rest. I was free to move forward, but the question remained, where would I go from here? I decided to throw myself into my work and personal growth. I started taking night classes in business management, hoping to advance my career. I joined a gym, took up running, and even started cooking, experimenting with new recipes each week. The routines helped fill the void and kept my mind occupied. One evening, while scrolling through my social media feed, I stumbled upon a post from an old high school friend, David. He was organizing a reunion for our graduating class. I hadn't seen most of these people in years, and the idea of reconnecting intrigued me. I RSVP'd without a second thought, looking forward to a night of nostalgia and catching up. The reunion was held at a local bar. As I walked in, I was greeted by familiar faces, some changed over time, others looking remarkably the same. David, always the life of the party, spotted me immediately and came over with a wide grin. "John, it's been too long, man," he exclaimed, pulling me into a bear hug. We spent the evening reminiscing about old times, laughing at shared memories and marveling at how much our lives had changed. It felt good to reconnect, to remember where I came from and how far I had come. Amid the reunion, I spotted Emily, an old flame from high school. We had dated briefly, but life had taken us in different directions. She looked up and caught my eye, smiling warmly. I made my way over to her, curious about how her life had turned out. "Emily, it's great to see you," I said, giving her a friendly hug. "John, wow, it's been ages. How have you been?" she replied, her eyes sparkling with genuine interest. We spent the rest of the night talking, catching up on each other's lives. Emily had become a successful graphic designer, living in the city and enjoying her work. There was an easy familiarity between us, a reminder of the connection we once had. As the night wore on, the reunion wound down, and people started to leave. Emily and I decided to continue our conversation over coffee at a nearby cafe. We talked for hours, sharing stories of our triumphs and failures, our hopes and dreams. "John," Emily said thoughtfully, stirring her coffee, "I always wondered what happened to us. We were so close, and then we just drifted apart." "I know," I replied, nodding. "Life has a way of pulling people in different directions, but I'm glad we're reconnecting now. It feels right." Thought over the next few weeks, Emily and I began to see each other more often. We went out for dinners, explored the city, and even attended a few art galleries together. Our connection deepened, and I found myself drawn to her in a way I hadn't expected. One evening, as we walked along the riverfront, Emily turned to me, her expression serious. "John, I know we're still figuring things out, but I need to know, are you ready for this? For us?" I took her hand, squeezing it gently. "Emily, I've been through a lot these past few years. I've learned that life is too short to hold back. I'm ready to see where this goes with you." Our relationship blossomed, and for the first time in a long while, I felt truly happy. Emily and I shared a deep understanding, a mutual respect that made our bond strong. With her, I felt a sense of completeness I hadn't known I was missing. As the seasons changed, so did my life. My career flourished, my personal growth continued, and my relationship with Emily grew stronger each day. We faced challenges together, supported each other through the ups and downs, and built a foundation of trust and love. Looking back, I realized that every step, every heartbreak, and every decision had led me to this moment. The pain of Sarah's betrayal, the brief but meaningful connection with Lisa, and the reconnection with Emily all shaped me into the person I am today. Standing on the balcony of my apartment one evening, Emily by my side, I felt a sense of peace. The storm had passed and the future stretched out before me, bright and full of possibilities. I was ready to embrace it, with Emily by my side, and whatever came next, I knew we would face it together. Life with Emily was everything I could have hoped for. We moved in together, and our days were filled with laughter, shared dreams, and a deepening bond. My career was on an upward trajectory, and Emily's art was gaining recognition. For the first time in years, I felt truly content. But as much as I tried to leave the past behind, it had a way of creeping back into my life. One evening, as Emily and I were preparing dinner, my phone buzzed with a message. I glanced at the screen. expecting it to be work-related, but instead, I saw a name I hadn't thought about in months. Sarah. "John, can we talk? It's important." My heart skipped a beat. Emily noticed my reaction and looked at me with concern. "Everything okay?" I hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, just an unexpected message from someone I didn't expect to hear from." She gave me a curious look, but didn't press further. I appreciated her trust, but I knew I couldn't ignore the message. After dinner, I told Emily I needed to step out for a bit and walk to a nearby park, seeking some privacy to call Sarah. "Hello, Sarah," I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. "John, thank you for calling," she replied, her voice sounding distant and strained. "I know this is out of the blue, but I need to talk to you. Can we meet?" I was reluctant, but something in her tone told me this was serious. "Okay, where?" We agreed to meet at a quiet cafe the next day. The anticipation of the meeting gnawed at me, but I tried to stay focused on the present. Emily and I spent the evening watching a movie, but my mind kept drifting to the past and what Sarah might want to discuss. The next day, I arrived at the cafe a few minutes early, my stomach in knots. Sarah walked in shortly after, looking tired and a bit nervous. We exchanged awkward greetings and sat down, the silence between us heavy. "John, I know I don't have the right to ask for your time," Sarah began, her eyes avoiding mine. "But I need to tell you something important." I nodded, waiting for her to continue. "After our divorce, I moved away to start fresh, but things didn't go as planned. I've been dealing with some health issues and I'm scared, John. I don't have anyone else to turn to." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. Despite everything, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for her. "What kind of health issues?" She took a deep breath. "I've been diagnosed with breast cancer. It's early, but I need surgery and treatment. I'm terrified." My anger and resentment melted away, replaced by a mix of compassion and sadness. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. What can I do to help?" She looked at me with tear-filled eyes. "I just need someone to talk to, someone who knows me. I understand if you can't, but I had to try." I reached across the table and took her hand. "I'm here, Sarah. I can't be what we once were, but I can be a friend." Over the next few weeks, I found myself supporting Sarah through her treatments. It was a strange situation, balancing my present with Emily and the past with Sarah. Emily, to her credit, was incredibly understanding. I explained the situation to her, and though it was difficult, she supported my decision to help Sarah. As Sarah underwent surgery and started her recovery, we had many conversations about our past, our mistakes, and the paths we had taken. It was a healing process for both of us. I realized that while I couldn't forget the betrayal, I could forgive and move on. One evening, after visiting Sarah at the hospital, I returned home to find Emily waiting for me, a worried look on her face. "John, we need to talk," she said softly, leading me to the couch. I sat down, my heart sinking. "What's wrong, Emily?" She took a deep breath. "I've been thinking a lot about us, about your past with Sarah and how it's affecting our relationship. I know you care about her and want to help, but it's been hard for me. I feel like I'm competing with a ghost." I reached for her hand, trying to reassure her. "Emily, you're not. Sarah's my past. You're my present and my future." She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "I know, but it's not that simple. I love you, John, but I need to know that you're fully here with me, that you've let go of everything that happened." I pulled her close, my heart aching. "I have, Emily. Helping Sarah is just something I need to do. But you're the one I want to be with, now and always." We held each other for a long time, the weight of our emotions hanging heavy in the air. Emily's words forced me to confront my feelings and ensure that I wasn't letting the past dictate my present. In the weeks that followed, I continued to support Sarah while making sure to prioritize my relationship with Emily. It wasn't easy, but with open communication and mutual understanding, we navigated through the challenges. Sarah's condition improved, and she expressed her gratitude for my support. We agreed to maintain a respectful distance, acknowledging that our past was behind us and that we both needed to move forward. With Sarah on the path to recovery, I focused entirely on my future with Emily. We talked about our dreams, our plans, and how we wanted to build our life together. The shadows of the past no longer loomed over us, and we were ready to embrace the future. As Emily and I stood on the balcony one evening, looking out at the city lights, I felt a sense of peace and fulfillment. The journey had been long and arduous, but I had emerged stronger and more resilient. With Emily by my side, I knew we could face anything that came our way. The past was behind me, and the future was bright. I was ready to step into it, hand in hand with the woman I loved, ready for whatever adventures awaited us. Life with Emily continued to flourish. We were more in sync than ever, enjoying our time together and making plans for the future. Weekends were filled with spontaneous road trips, visits to art galleries where Emily's work was featured, and cozy evenings at home cooking and laughing. One Saturday morning, as we sipped coffee on our balcony, Emily turned to me with a smile. "John, I've been thinking. How do you feel about us taking a trip together? Maybe somewhere warm and relaxing. We both could use a break." The idea of a getaway was appealing. "That sounds perfect, Emily. Where do you have in mind?" "I was thinking Hawaii. Sun, beaches, and just us. What do you think?" I grinned, imagining us on a beautiful beach, away from the stresses of everyday life. "Hawaii it is. Let's do it." We spent the next few weeks planning our trip, the excitement building with each passing day. It felt like a fresh chapter, a way to leave all the past troubles behind and focus entirely on our happiness. The day finally arrived, and as our plane descended over the islands, I felt a sense of anticipation and joy. The tropical paradise was even more stunning than I had imagined. We checked into a luxurious resort, our room offering breathtaking views of the ocean. Our days were filled with relaxation and adventure. We swam in crystal clear waters, hiked through lush rainforests, and enjoyed romantic dinners by the beach. It was everything we had hoped for and more. One evening, as we watched the sunset from our balcony, Emily snuggled close to me. "John, this trip has been amazing. I'm so glad we did this." "Me too," I replied, kissing her forehead. "I've never felt more at peace." As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with vibrant hues of orange and pink, Emily turned to me with a serious expression. "There's something I've been wanting to talk to you about." My heart skipped a beat. "What is it?" She took a deep breath. "I've been thinking about us, about our future. I love you, John, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. But I need to know if you feel the same way." Her words hung in the air, a mixture of hope and uncertainty. I looked into her eyes, seeing the depth of her feelings and the vulnerability she was sharing. "Emily, I love you more than anything. I want to build a life with you, to face whatever comes our way together." Relief and joy washed over her face. "John, will you marry me?" I was taken aback, not by the question, but by the fact that she had beaten me to it. I had been carrying a ring in my pocket, waiting for the perfect moment to propose. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the small box, opening it to reveal the ring inside. "Emily, I was planning to ask you the same question. Will you marry me?" Tears of happiness filled her eyes as she nodded. "Yes, John, 1,000 times yes." We embraced, the world around us fading away as we celebrated our engagement. It was a moment of pure bliss, a promise of a future filled with love and partnership. Our return from Hawaii was bittersweet. We were eager to start planning our wedding, but reality awaited us. Work, responsibilities, and the everyday challenges of life quickly reasserted themselves. Yet we faced them together, stronger and more united than ever. As we settled back into our routine, we began to plan our wedding. We chose a date in the spring, wanting to capture the season of renewal and growth for our special day. Emily's artistic touch was evident in every detail, from the invitations to the decorations. One evening, as we were finalizing the guest list, I received an unexpected phone call from David, my old high school friend. "John, I've got some news. You might want to sit down for this." Concerned, I took a seat. "What is it, David?" "It's Sarah. She's been in an accident. It's pretty serious." The news hit me like a ton of bricks. Despite everything, Sarah had been an important part of my life, and the thought of her being hurt was deeply unsettling. "What happened?" "She was in a car accident. They had to perform emergency surgery. She's stable now, but it's going to be a long recovery." I felt a mix of emotions, concern for Sarah, confusion about what this meant for my current life, and an overwhelming sense of déjà vu. "Thanks for letting me know, David. I'll go see her." Emily looked at me with worry in her eyes as I explained the situation. "John, are you okay?" "I'm not sure," I admitted. "But I need to see her to make sure she's all right." Emily nodded, her support unwavering. "I understand. Just know that I'm here for you, whatever you need." The next day, I visited the hospital where Sarah was recovering. Seeing her lying there, fragile and in pain, brought back a flood of memories. Despite our complicated history, I felt a deep sense of compassion for her. "John," she whispered weakly as I entered the room. "You came." "I'm here, Sarah," I said softly, taking her hand. "I'm glad you're okay." We talked for a while, our conversation filled with long pauses and unspoken words. I assured her that she wasn't alone and that I would help her through her recovery, but I also made it clear that my future was with Emily. As I left the hospital, I felt a renewed sense of clarity. The past had its place, but it would not dictate my future. I was ready to move forward, to build a life with Emily, and to face whatever challenges came our way together. The weeks passed, and Sarah's recovery progressed. I continued to offer my support, but my focus remained on my relationship with Emily and our upcoming wedding. The experience reinforced the importance of communication, trust, and mutual support. Spring arrived, bringing with it a sense of renewal and anticipation. Our wedding day approached, and as I stood at the altar, watching Emily walk down the aisle, I felt a profound sense of gratitude and joy. We exchanged vows, promising to love and support each other through all of life's challenges. As we celebrated with our family and friends, I looked around, realizing that every step of my journey had led me to this moment. The betrayals, the heartbreaks, and the struggles had all been worth it, bringing me to a place of happiness and fulfillment. With Emily by my side, I knew we could face anything. The past was behind us, and the future was ours to create. Together, we would build a life filled with love, adventure, and endless possibilities. Emily and I settled into married life with a sense of excitement and contentment. Our wedding had been a beautiful celebration of our love, and we looked forward to building our future together. However, the tranquility was short-lived. Life has a way of throwing unexpected challenges, and it wasn't long before we faced a new test. One evening, as I returned home from work, Emily was sitting at the kitchen table, a troubled expression on her face. She had a stack of papers in front of her and her laptop open. "John, we need to talk," she said, her voice tight with tension. "What's wrong?" I asked, my heart sinking. The serious look on her face told me this was more than just a minor issue. She took a deep breath. "I've been going through our finances and I found something strange. There are several large withdrawals from our joint account that I don't recognize." I frowned, trying to recall any recent expenditures that could account for the missing money. "Are you sure? Maybe there's a mistake. I've double-checked everything. The withdrawals are significant and they started around the time we got married," Emily said, her eyes searching mine for answers. A knot formed in my stomach. I had no idea where the money had gone, and the implications were troubling. "Let me take a look," I said, sitting down beside her. As we reviewed the account statements together, it became clear that someone had been systematically siphoning money from our account. The amounts were too large and too regular to be accidental. We both felt a growing sense of unease. "We need to contact the bank and report this," I said, feeling a surge of frustration and anger. "This has to be some kind of fraud." Emily nodded, but her expression remained troubled. "John, there's more. I did some digging, and I found out that Sarah's been in touch with our bank. She's the one making these withdrawals." My mind reeled. "Sarah? But why would she do this?" Emily looked at me, her eyes filled with a mix of concern and betrayal. "I don't know, but we need to find out." The next day I confronted Sarah. I arranged to meet her at a coffee shop, determined to get to the bottom of this. As I walked in, she was already seated, looking anxious. "John, what's going on?" she asked as I sat down. "You tell me," I said, trying to keep my anger in check. "Why have you been taking money from our account?" Sarah's face turned pale. "John, I can explain. It's not what you think." "Then explain," I demanded, my patience wearing thin. She took a deep breath, tears welling up in her eyes. After the accident, I had so many medical bills. Insurance didn't cover everything, and I was desperate. I didn't know where else to turn. I never intended to hurt you or Emily. Her words were a punch to the gut. I felt a mix of anger, sympathy, and confusion. So you just decided to steal from us? I didn't know what else to do, she said, her voice breaking. I thought I could pay it back once I was back on my feet. The anger I felt was tempered by the sight of her distress. You should have come to me, Sarah. We could have figured something out together. She nodded, wiping away her tears. I know, and I'm sorry. I was ashamed and scared. I took a deep breath, trying to process everything. We need to fix this. You need to return the money and explain everything to Emily. Sarah agreed, and over the next few days we worked together to resolve the financial mess. She returned the money she had taken, and we arranged a meeting with Emily to clear the air. When we sat down with Emily, the tension was palpable. Sarah explained her situation, and Emily listened, her expression unreadable. After Sarah finished, Emily took a deep breath. Sarah, I understand that you were in a difficult situation, but you betrayed our trust. This is going to take time to heal, Emily said, her voice steady but firm. Sarah nodded, looking contrite. I know, and I'm truly sorry. I'll do whatever it takes to make it right. In the weeks that followed, we worked to rebuild the trust that had been shattered. It wasn't easy, but with open communication and a willingness to forgive, we slowly began to move forward. Life started to regain a sense of normalcy. Emily and I focused on our relationship, making sure to prioritize our time together and strengthen our bond. Sarah distanced herself, respecting our need for space, but remained in touch, genuinely trying to make amends. One evening, as Emily and I sat on our balcony reflecting on the recent events, she turned to me with a thoughtful expression. John, do you think we'll ever fully put the past behind us? I took her hand, squeezing it gently. I believe we can. It's not about forgetting what happened, but learning from it and moving forward together. She smiled, leaning into me. I love you, John. No matter what happens, I'm glad we have each other. I love you too, Emily. And as long as we have each other, we can face anything, I replied, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and hope. As we sat there watching the sunset, I knew that the road ahead wouldn't always be smooth, but I was ready to navigate it with Emily by my side. The past had its lessons, but the future was ours to create, and together we were unstoppable. As Emily and I continued to navigate the challenges of our marriage, the scars of past betrayals slowly began to fade. We focused on building a future together, strengthened by the trials we had faced. However, life had one more curveball to throw our way, one that would test our relationship in ways we hadn't anticipated. One afternoon, as I was finishing up at work, I received a call from David. He sounded urgent and distressed, his usual jovial tone replaced by something more serious. John, we need to talk. It's about Sarah. My heart sank. What happened? It's complicated. Can you meet me at the old diner in an hour? Sure, I'll be there, I replied, my mind racing with possibilities. When I arrived at the diner, David was already seated, his expression grave. I slid into the booth across from him, my anxiety growing. What's going on, David? He took a deep breath. John, I don't know how to say this, but I think you need to hear it from me. Sarah has been spreading rumors about you and Emily. I felt a jolt of anger and disbelief. What kind of rumors? About you having an affair. She's been telling people that you've been seeing someone else behind Emily's back, David said, his eyes filled with concern. I was stunned. That's ridiculous. Why would she do that? David shook his head. I don't know, but it's causing a lot of talk. I thought you should know before it gets out of hand. I left the diner in a daze, my mind whirling with confusion and anger. Sarah's actions made no sense, especially after everything we had been through. I needed to confront her to get to the bottom of this. That evening, I told Emily about the rumors. Her initial reaction was one of shock, quickly followed by anger. Why would she do this? Emily asked, pacing the living room. We helped her when she needed it. This is how she repays us. I don't know, but I'm going to find out, I replied, determined to get answers. The next day, I visited Sarah's apartment. She looked surprised to see me, but her expression quickly turned defensive. "John, what are you doing here?" she asked. "We need to talk," I said, my voice firm. "David told me about the rumors you've been spreading. Why, Sarah? Why would you do this?" Her eyes filled with a mix of guilt and defiance. I didn't mean for it to get out of hand. I was angry and frustrated, and I said things I shouldn't have. "That's not good enough, Sarah. You know what we've been through. Why would you try to sabotage my relationship with Emily?" She looked away, tears welling up in her eyes. "I don't know, John. Maybe I was jealous. You moved on and found happiness while I'm still struggling. It's no excuse, but that's the truth." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my emotions in check. "Sarah, you need to stop this. You need to make things right. Apologize to everyone you've talked to and tell them the truth." She nodded, her shoulders sagging in defeat. "I will. I'm sorry, John. I never meant to hurt you or Emily." I left her apartment feeling a mix of relief and frustration. Sarah's apology was a step in the right direction, but the damage had already been done. I knew that repairing the trust and reputation she had tried to tarnish would take time. Back home, Emily and I faced the fallout together. We reached out to our friends and family, explaining the situation and reaffirming our commitment to each other. The support we received was overwhelming, and slowly the rumors began to die down. One evening, as we sat on the balcony, Emily turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "John, I think we need to take a break from all this. Maybe a trip, just the two of us, to clear our heads and reconnect." I nodded, grateful for a suggestion. "That sounds perfect. Where do you want to go? Someplace quiet and peaceful. How about a cabin in the mountains?" she suggested. "Let's do it," I agreed, feeling a sense of relief at the idea of escaping the chaos. We planned the trip quickly, eager to leave the city and its troubles behind. As we drove up to the mountains, the tension that had been weighing on us began to lift. The serene landscape and fresh air provided a much-needed respite from the stress of recent events. Our days at the cabin were filled with hiking, reading by the fire, and simply enjoying each other's company. The tranquility of the mountains gave us the space to talk openly about everything we had been through, and to reaffirm our love and commitment. One afternoon, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, Emily took my hand. "John, I know things have been tough, but I believe in us. We've faced so much together, and we've come out stronger every time." I squeezed her hand, feeling a wave of gratitude and love. "I believe in us too, Emily. No matter what happens, we'll face it together." The trip allowed us to reconnect and rebuild the trust that had been shaken. We returned home with a renewed sense of purpose and unity, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Life began to settle into a new rhythm. We focused on our careers, our hobbies, and each other. The events with Sarah became a distant memory, a lesson in resilience and the importance of trust. One evening, as we were preparing dinner, Emily looked at me with a smile. "John, I have some news. I'm pregnant." The words took a moment to sink in, and then joy and excitement flooded through me. "Emily, that's amazing. We're going to be parents." We embraced, tears of happiness streaming down our faces. It was a new beginning, a promise of a future filled with love and new adventures. As we navigated the journey of pregnancy and prepared for the arrival of our child, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for everything we had overcome. The trials and tribulations had only strengthened our bond, and I knew that we were ready for whatever the future held. The past was behind us, and the future was bright. With Emily by my side, and a new life on the way, I felt a sense of fulfillment and joy that I had never known before. Together, we would face whatever came our way, stronger and more united than ever. The news of Emily's pregnancy brought a wave of joy and anticipation into our lives. We began preparing for the arrival of our child, transforming a spare room into a nursery and reading every book on parenting we could find. Life felt full of promise, and for a while the shadows of the past seemed to have finally dissipated. However, the calm was short-lived. One evening, while Emily was out at a prenatal yoga class, I received an unexpected visitor. It was Sarah, looking more distressed than I had ever seen her. "John, I need to talk to you," she said, her voice trembling. I hesitated, unsure of what to expect. "Sarah, it's late. What's going on? She stepped inside, her eyes darting around nervously. There's something you need to know. It's about Emily. My stomach knotted with apprehension. What do you mean? Sarah took a deep breath, her hands shaking. I overheard something at the hospital where I've been getting my treatments. Emily has been meeting someone there regularly, a man named Mark. I did some digging, and it turns out he's an old friend of hers. I felt a chill run down my spine. What are you saying, Sarah? I'm saying that I think Emily is having an affair with this Mark, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Anger and disbelief surged through me. That's ridiculous. Emily wouldn't do that. I know it sounds crazy, but I have proof, she insisted, pulling out her phone. She showed me pictures of Emily and Mark together at the hospital, their interactions looking far more intimate than I was comfortable with. My mind reeled. The photos showed Emily and Mark talking closely, sometimes even hugging. It didn't look like an affair, but it looked suspicious. I felt a deep sense of betrayal creeping in, mingled with confusion and doubt. Why are you telling me this? I asked, my voice thick with emotion. I care about you, John. You deserve to know the truth, Sarah said, tears streaming down her face. I know I've made mistakes, but I couldn't keep this from you. I spent the rest of the evening in a daze, my mind racing with questions. When Emily returned, I struggled to act normal, but the images Sarah had shown me were burned into my mind. Days passed, and the seeds of doubt planted by Sarah's revelation began to grow. I found myself questioning Emily's actions, her late-night meetings, and her explanations. My trust in her, once rock solid, now wavered with every passing moment. One evening, unable to bear the tension any longer, I decided to confront Emily. We were sitting on the couch, the TV playing in the background, when I turned to her. Emily, there's something I need to ask you, I said, my voice tight with anxiety. She looked at me, concern etched on her face. What is it, John? I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. I know about Mark. I know you've been seeing him. Her eyes widened in shock, and she quickly composed herself. John, it's not what you think. Then tell me what it is, I demanded, my voice rising. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been hiding something from me. Emily sighed, her expression a mix of frustration and sadness. Mark is an old friend from college. He's been helping me with some personal issues I've been dealing with. Things I didn't want to burden you with while I'm pregnant. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, hurt and confusion evident in my voice. Because I didn't want to worry you, she said softly. I know we've been through so much, and I didn't want to add to the stress. Mark is a therapist, and he's been helping me cope with my anxiety about the pregnancy and everything we've been through. Her explanation made sense, but the doubt lingered. Why didn't you think I could handle it? We're supposed to face everything together. Emily reached for my hand, her eyes pleading. I'm sorry, John. I should have told you. I was scared and didn't want to seem weak, but I swear nothing is going on between us. He's just a friend and a professional helping me through a tough time. I wanted to believe her, but the images and Sarah's words had left a mark. Emily, I need some time to process this. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I understand. But please believe me, I love you and only you. The following days were tense and filled with uncertainty. I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal, even as I tried to remind myself of the love and trust we had built. The seeds of doubt had taken root, and it would take time and effort to uproot them. One evening, as I was going through some old photos, I came across our wedding album. Flipping through the pages, I saw the joy and love in our eyes, the promise we had made to each other to face life's challenges together. It reminded me of the strength of our bond and the journey we had undertaken. I decided to talk to Mark directly. I found his contact information through some online sleuthing and arranged to meet him at a coffee shop. When I arrived, he greeted me with a calm, professional demeanor. John, I understand why you're concerned, he began after I explained my side of the story. Emily came to me because she was struggling with a lot of anxiety and stress. Our meetings were purely professional. Why didn't she tell me? He asked, my frustration evident. She was afraid of burdening you, Mark explained. She loves you deeply and didn't want to add to the stress you were already facing. I looked at him, searching for any sign of deceit, but all I saw was sincerity. "Thank you for explaining," I said, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. When I got home, I found Emily in the nursery, arranging tiny clothes in a drawer. She looked up as I entered, her eyes filled with hope and fear. "John, did you talk to Mark?" she asked softly. "I did," I replied, walking over to her. "And I understand now. I'm sorry for doubting you." She threw her arms around me, relief flooding her face. "Thank you, John. I promise I'll be more open with you from now on." We stood there, holding each other, the weight of the past few weeks slowly lifting. It would take time to fully rebuild the trust, but we were committed to facing the challenges together, just as we always had. As the months passed, we focused on preparing for our child's arrival, our bond stronger than ever. The seeds of doubt had been uprooted, replaced by a renewed sense of trust and love. Together, we were ready to face whatever the future held, confident in our ability to overcome any obstacle. The arrival of our baby boy, Matthew, brought an overwhelming sense of joy and fulfillment into our lives. Emily and I marveled at his tiny fingers and peaceful expressions, feeling a love deeper than we had ever imagined. Holding him in my arms, I knew that everything we had been through had led us to this beautiful moment of new beginnings. As new parents, we navigated sleepless nights and diaper changes with a shared sense of wonder and exhaustion. Our days were filled with feedings, soothing cries, and marveling at Matthew's every milestone. Emily was a natural mother, her love and devotion evident in every gentle touch and reassuring word. Despite the challenges of adjusting to parenthood, our bond grew stronger. We communicated more openly, leaning on each other for support and understanding. The doubts and insecurities that had plagued us before Matthew's arrival seemed distant, replaced by a deep sense of unity and purpose. One evening, as we sat together in the nursery, watching Matthew sleep peacefully in his crib, Emily turned to me with a smile. "John, he's perfect. I can't believe he's ours." "He's a miracle," I replied, reaching for her hand. "Just like you are." She laughed softly, leaning her head against my shoulder. "I love you, John. Thank you for everything." "I love you too, Emily," I said, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "I wouldn't trade this for anything." As Matthew grew, so did our family's happiness. We celebrated his first smile, his first laugh, and his first steps with boundless joy. Our home was filled with laughter and love, a testament to the strength of our relationship and the blessings we had been given. While parenting, we also made time for ourselves as a couple. We went on date nights, rediscovering the simple pleasure of each other's company. Emily's art flourished as she found inspiration in motherhood, her paintings reflecting the beauty and chaos of our new life. Life wasn't without its challenges, of course. We faced sleepless nights, teething troubles, and the inevitable disagreements that come with raising a child. But each hurdle was a reminder of our resilience and commitment to each other and our family. One day, as I watched Emily play with Matthew in the backyard, a sense of gratitude washed over me. Despite the ups and downs, the betrayals and doubts, we had found our way back to each other. Our love had grown deeper and more enduring, a testament to our determination to build a life together. As Matthew grew older, our conversations turned to the future. We talked about expanding our family, about career goals and dreams yet to be realized. The past, once a shadow over our happiness, became a distant memory, a reminder of how far we had come. One evening, as we sat on the porch swing watching the sunset, Emily took my hand. "John, do you remember where we were a few years ago?" I nodded, my heart swelling with emotion. "Yes, and I'm grateful every day that we found our way back to each other." She smiled, her eyes reflecting the love and contentment we shared. "I wouldn't change a thing about our journey. It's made us who we are." As we sat there watching the sky turn shades of pink and gold, I knew that our story was far from over. Life would continue to bring challenges and uncertainties, but with Emily by my side and Matthew in our arms, I was certain that our future held endless possibilities. Together we had weathered the storms and emerged stronger than ever. Our love story was a testament to forgiveness, resilience, and the power of second chances. As we looked ahead to the years to come, I knew that our bond would only grow deeper, our family stronger, and our hearts fuller with each passing day. With Emily's hand in mine and Matthew's laughter filling the air, I felt a sense of peace and gratitude that surpassed anything I had ever known. Our journey had been marked by twists and turns, but through it all, we had found our way back to love, and that was all that mattered. As Matthew grew older and more independent, Emily and I found ourselves reflecting on the journey that had brought us to where we were. Our days were filled with the bustle of family life, school runs, soccer practices, and bedtime stories. But amidst the whirlwind, we carved out moments to revisit the past and appreciate the present. One afternoon, while Matthew was at a playdate, Emily and I sat in our favorite spot on the porch, sipping coffee and enjoying a rare moment of quiet. The air was crisp with the promise of autumn, and the leaves whispered secrets of seasons past. "Do you ever think about everything we've been through?" Emily asked, her voice soft with introspection. I nodded, gazing out at the backyard where Matthew's toys lay scattered. "All the time. It feels like a lifetime ago since those turbulent days." "It's hard to believe how much has changed," Emily mused, her eyes distant with memories. "But I'm grateful for where we are now." I reached for her hand, intertwining our fingers. "Me too. Despite everything, I wouldn't change a thing." We fell into a comfortable silence, lost in our thoughts. The past seemed like a distant dream, a story of pain, betrayal, and redemption woven into the fabric of our lives. But it had shaped us, molded us into who we had become, stronger, wiser, and more appreciative of the love we shared. "I'm proud of us, you know," Emily said suddenly, breaking the silence. "For fighting for our marriage, for choosing to forgive and rebuild." "I'm proud of you too," I replied sincerely. "You've been an amazing mother to Matthew, and you never gave up on us." Emily smiled, a hint of nostalgia in her eyes. "Remember when we first met? I never imagined our journey would take us here." I chuckled softly, remembering our early days filled with laughter and uncertainty. "Neither did I, but I'm grateful for every twist and turn that brought us to this moment." As the afternoon stretched into the evening, we talked about our hopes for the future. We dreamed of traveling with Matthew, of watching him grow into a kind and compassionate person, of growing old together and celebrating milestones yet to come. "I want him to know our story," Emily said, her voice filled with determination, "to understand that life isn't always easy, but love and forgiveness can overcome even the toughest challenges." "He will," I replied confidently, "because we'll teach him, just like we've learned ourselves." In the weeks that followed, we made a conscious effort to celebrate our journey. We revisited places that held special meaning for us, shared old photographs and letters, and laughed over memories both bitter and sweet. Each moment reaffirmed our commitment to each other and the life we had built. One evening, as we tucked Matthew into bed and listened to his sleepy murmurs, Emily turned to me with a smile. "John, do you ever think about what might have been if we hadn't found our way back to each other?" I shook my head, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "I try not to, because the only thing that matters is that we did." She snuggled closer, her hand resting on my chest. "I love you, John. Thank you for choosing me every single day." "I love you too, Emily," I whispered, holding her close. "Always." As we drifted off to sleep that night, surrounded by the quiet hum of our home and the warmth of each other's presence, I knew that our journey was far from over. Life would continue to bring challenges and uncertainties, but as long as we faced them together, our love would endure, a testament to the power of forgiveness, resilience, and the unwavering bond we shared. Years passed in a blur of laughter, tears, and cherished moments as our family grew and evolved. Matthew blossomed into a bright and curious young boy, his laughter filling our home with joy. Emily continued to pursue her passion for art, her paintings capturing the beauty and complexity of life. And I found fulfillment in my career, grateful for the stability and purpose it brought to our lives. As Matthew approached his 10th birthday, Emily and I found ourselves reflecting on the legacy we wanted to leave for him. Our journey together had taught us valuable lessons about love, forgiveness, and resilience, and we wanted to impart those lessons to our son. One sunny afternoon, we sat together in the backyard watching Matthew play with our dog, Max. The air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers, a testament to the passage of time and the beauty of life unfolding. Do you remember when Matthew was just a baby? Emily asked, her voice soft with nostalgia. I smiled, reaching for her hand. How could I forget? It feels like yesterday. He's grown so much, Emily remarked, her eyes following Matthew as he chased after a soccer ball. I'm proud of the young man he's becoming. He's got your creativity and my determination, I said proudly. He's going to do amazing things. As we watched Matthew play, I thought about the challenges we had faced and overcome as a family. The betrayals and doubts of the past seemed distant, overshadowed by the love and unity that had defined our lives in recent years. I want him to know our story, Emily said suddenly, breaking the silence. To understand that love isn't always perfect, but it's worth fighting for. He will, I replied, my voice filled with conviction. Because we'll show him in the weeks leading up to Matthew's birthday, we talked to him about our journey as a family. We shared stories of our early days, of the challenges we had faced, and the lessons we had learned. Matthew listened with wide-eyed curiosity, absorbing every word as if it were a piece of the puzzle that made up his family's history. On the morning of his birthday, we gathered around the breakfast table, the scent of pancakes and freshly brewed coffee filling the air. Matthew's eyes sparkled with excitement as he opened his presents, a new soccer ball, a set of paints, and a book of family photographs. Happy birthday, buddy, I said, ruffling his hair affectionately. Thanks, Dad, Matthew exclaimed, his smile lighting up the room. After breakfast, we sat together in the living room, surrounded by balloons and the warmth of family. Emily handed Matthew a small gift-wrapped box, her eyes shining with emotion. This is from both of us, she said softly. Matthew eagerly tore open the wrapping paper to reveal a leather-bound journal. He flipped through the pages, each one filled with handwritten notes, photographs, and sketches. What is it? Matthew asked, his curiosity piqued. It's our family story, Emily explained. Your dad and I wrote down everything. The good times, the tough times, and everything in between. Matthew's eyes widened in surprise. Wow, yes, I said, smiling at him. We wanted you to know where we came from, so you can understand who you are and the love that surrounds you. Matthew flipped through the pages with growing fascination, pausing to study old photographs of our wedding, his baby pictures and moments captured in time. Each page told a part of our story, a testament to the resilience and strength of our family bond. This is amazing, Matthew said, his voice filled with awe. I can't wait to read it all. Emily and I exchanged a glance, our hearts overflowing with love and pride. As Matthew continued to explore the journal, we knew that our legacy of love would live on through him, a reminder of the power of forgiveness, resilience, and the unwavering bond that had shaped our lives. In the years that followed, as Matthew grew into a young man, he carried the lessons of our family story with him. He faced his challenges and triumphs with courage and grace, guided by the values we had instilled in him. Our home remained filled with love and laughter, a sanctuary of warmth and acceptance. As Emily and I grew older together, our love continued to deepen, a testament to the enduring power of forgiveness and the strength of our family bond. As we watched Matthew embark on his journey, we knew that our story was far from over. The legacy of love we had built would continue to shape generations to come, a testament to the resilience and beauty of family. And as we look back on our journey, the twists and turns, the challenges and triumphs, we were grateful for every moment that had led us to this place of love, peace, and infinite possibility. Life had settled into a comfortable rhythm as Emily and I embraced the joys of empty nesting. Matthew had left for college, his room now a quiet sanctuary filled with memories of his childhood. Our days were filled with quiet mornings, leisurely walks with Max, and shared hobbies that had taken a back seat during the busier years of parenting. One crisp autumn morning, Emily and I sat on the porch swing, sipping our morning coffee as the sun rose over the horizon. The air was cool and refreshing, a gentle reminder of the changing seasons and the passage of time. I miss him, Emily said softly, breaking the peaceful silence. I do too, I replied, reaching for her hand. But I'm proud of the young man he's become. He's got your determination and my creativity, Emily mused, a smile tugging at her lips. He's going to do great things. He will, I agreed, my heart swelling with pride. And he'll carry our love and values with him wherever he goes. As we watched the sunrise, we talked about our plans for the future. Emily wanted to focus more on her art, exploring new techniques and themes that had been brewing in her mind for years. I was considering early retirement, eager to spend more time traveling and pursuing hobbies that had taken a back seat during my career. "We've come a long way," Emily said, her voice filled with nostalgia. "From those turbulent years to where we are now." "We have," I replied, thinking back on our journey together. "And I wouldn't change a single moment." In the months that followed, Emily threw herself into her art with renewed passion. Her studio became a haven of creativity, filled with canvases splashed with color and emotion. She held exhibitions at local galleries, showcasing her work and connecting with fellow artists and art enthusiasts. I too found fulfillment in my newfound freedom. I traveled to places I had always dreamed of visiting, explored new hobbies, and volunteered in the community. Each day brought new experiences and opportunities for growth, a testament to the richness of life beyond the responsibilities of parenthood. One evening, as we sat together by the fireplace, Emily turned to me with a smile. "Do you remember when we thought our story had reached its darkest chapter?" I nodded, taking her hand in mine. "I do. But look how far we've come. We've built a life filled with love and happiness," Emily said softly, her eyes shimmering with emotion. "And it's all because we never gave up on each other." As we toasted to the future with glasses of wine, I knew that our journey together was far from over. The challenges and triumphs of the past had shaped us into who we were, a couple bound by love, resilience, and a shared commitment to cherish every moment. In the years that followed, Emily and I continued to embrace the joys of empty nesting with gratitude and enthusiasm. We traveled the world together, immersed ourselves in our passions, and cherished the quiet moments of togetherness that had become the cornerstone of our relationship. Our love story was a testament to the power of forgiveness, resilience, and the unwavering bond we had built over the years. And as we looked ahead to the next chapter of our lives, we knew that our love would continue to grow stronger with each passing day, a beacon of hope and inspiration for future generations. Together we had weathered the storms and emerged stronger than ever. Our journey was a testament to the enduring power of love, a legacy we were proud to pass on to those who had come after us. As we watched the sun set on another beautiful day, hand in hand, I knew that our story would continue to unfold with grace, gratitude, and infinite possibility. The decision weighed heavily on my heart as I sat across from the divorce lawyer, the paperwork spread out in front of me. It was a step I never thought I would take, a step that symbolized the unraveling of years spent building a life together with Emily. "I'm sorry you're going through this," the lawyer said, his voice tinged with empathy as he reviewed the documents. I nodded, my throat tight with emotion. "Thank you." As I signed the papers, each stroke of the pen felt like a bittersweet farewell to the dreams and promises we had once made to each other. I knew deep down that this was the right decision, but it didn't make it any easier. In the weeks leading up to this moment, Emily and I had grown apart. Our once vibrant connection had faded into silence and unspoken tension. We had tried counseling and long talks late into the night, but the distance between us seemed insurmountable. Emily's reaction to my decision to file for a divorce was a mixture of disbelief and anguish. She pleaded with me to reconsider, tears streaming down her face as she poured out her heart. "John, please," she begged, clutching my hands in hers. "We can work through this. We've been through so much together." I looked into her eyes, seeing the pain mirrored in them. "Emily, I don't know if we can." Her face crumpled, and she buried her head in my chest, her sobs shaking her body. "I love you, John. I don't want to lose you." "I love you too," I whispered, holding her close. "But we've reached a point where staying together is hurting us both." Despite her protests, I moved forward with the divorce proceedings, knowing that it was the only way to find peace and a chance at happiness again. I hired the best lawyer I could find, determined to navigate this difficult process with integrity and respect. As the days turned into weeks, Emily and I began the painful process of untangling our lives. We divided our assets, discussed custody arrangements for our dog Max, and tried to make the transition as smooth as possible for both of us. Throughout it all, Emily's anguish was palpable. She vacillated between pleading with me to reconsider and moments of icy withdrawal. I knew she was hurting, and so was I, but we had reached a point where staying together was no longer an option. One evening, as we sat in the living room surrounded by boxes of belongings, Emily turned to me with a tremulous smile. "Do you remember when we first moved in here?" I nodded, feeling a pang of nostalgia for the early days of our marriage. "Feels like a lifetime ago." "It does," Emily agreed softly. "I never imagined we would end up here." "Neither did I admitted, my voice catching with emotion. She reached for my hand, her touch gentle and familiar. "I'm sorry for everything, John. I never wanted things to turn out like this." "I know," I said quietly, squeezing her hand in return. "I'm sorry, too." In the weeks that followed, Emily and I finalized our divorce with a mixture of relief and sorrow. We signed the papers in a lawyer's office, our signatures marking the end of one chapter and the uncertain beginning of another. As we parted ways for the last time, Emily looked at me with tear-filled eyes. "I'll always love you, John. I'll always love you too," I replied, my voice thick with emotion, and with that, we walked away from each other, our hearts heavy with the weight of what might have been and the pain of what was. The weeks following the divorce were a tumultuous whirlwind of emotions. Adjusting to life on my own was challenging, and filled with moments of loneliness and reflection. Yet amidst the sorrow, there was also a sense of relief, a newfound freedom to rediscover myself and forge a path forward. I moved into a small apartment, a temporary sanctuary that echoed with echoes of solitude. The walls seemed too quiet at times, lacking the warmth and familiarity of the home I had shared with Emily. Yet, with each passing day, I found solace in the simplicity of my new surroundings. Navigating the aftermath of the divorce was a journey of self-discovery and healing. I threw myself into work, finding purpose and distraction in the challenges of my career. Colleagues and friends offered support, lending a listening ear and words of encouragement as I processed the end of my marriage. Despite the pain of separation, there were moments of clarity and acceptance. I sought solace in nature, taking long walks in the park or by the river, finding peace in the rhythm of the natural world. The quiet moments allowed me to reflect on the lessons learned, the growth achieved, and the strength discovered in adversity. In those solitary moments, I began to reconnect with old passions and hobbies that had been set aside during my marriage. I picked up a paintbrush again, rediscovering the joy of creating art. The colors flowed onto the canvas, each stroke a testament to the emotions and experiences of the past year. Emily remained a presence in my thoughts, her absence a constant ache in my heart. I wondered how she was coping, if she had found peace in her journey of healing. We exchanged occasional emails and tentative attempts to find closure and understanding amidst the remnants of our shared history. One evening, as I sat on the balcony of my apartment, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of pink and gold, a sense of peace washed over me. The wounds of the past were still tender, but I knew that time would continue to heal, and that I would emerge stronger and more resilient than before. I began to rebuild my life with intention and purpose. I surrounded myself with supportive friends and immersed myself in activities that brought me joy and fulfillment. I volunteered at a local community center, finding fulfillment in giving back to others and making a positive impact in my community. As the months passed, I started to envision a future filled with new possibilities. I traveled to places I had always wanted to visit, experiencing different cultures and landscapes. Each journey was a step towards self-discovery and growth, a reminder that life was a tapestry of experiences waiting to be woven. Through it all, I carried the lessons of forgiveness and resilience that had defined my journey. I learned to embrace the uncertainty of life, finding strength in the knowledge that every ending was also a new beginning. And as I looked ahead to the future with hope and optimism, I knew that I had found peace in the healing process and that I was ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. The journey through divorce had been one of the most challenging chapters of my life, but it had also been a catalyst for personal growth and transformation. As I closed the chapter on my marriage with gratitude for the lessons learned, I felt a sense of peace knowing that I had emerged from the storm stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. With time, wounds began to heal, and the ache of loss slowly eased into a sense of acceptance. I found myself embracing the rhythm of single life, discovering newfound freedoms and opportunities for personal growth. One crisp spring morning, as I sipped my coffee and watched the sun rise over the city skyline from my balcony, a sense of gratitude washed over me. The past year had been a journey of rediscovery, a journey that had led me to this moment of quiet contentment. I had immersed myself in my work, finding fulfillment and purpose in projects that challenged and inspired me. My career had flourished, opening doors to new opportunities and professional growth. Colleagues had become friends, offering support and camaraderie as I navigated the complexities of post-divorce life. Weekends were filled with exploration and adventure. I hiked mountain trails, kayaked down winding rivers, and savored quiet moments in nature's embrace. Each excursion brought a sense of freedom and exhilaration, a reminder of the beauty and wonder that surrounded me. Amid my newfound independence, I cultivated meaningful connections with friends old and new. We shared laughter over dinners and drinks, swapped stories of triumphs and challenges, and offered each other unwavering support in times of need. As the months passed, I began to explore new passions and interests that had been dormant during my marriage. I enrolled in cooking classes, discovering the joy of experimenting with flavors and techniques in the kitchen. Art galleries and museums became regular destinations, inspiring me with their creativity and innovation. Occasionally, thoughts of Emily crossed my mind, a fleeting reminder of the life we had once shared and the lessons we had learned together. Our paths had diverged, each of us forging ahead on our journey of self-discovery and healing. One evening, as I browsed through a bookstore, a title caught my eye: The Art of Forgiveness. Intrigued, I flipped through its pages, drawn to its exploration of the power of forgiveness in healing wounds and finding peace. The words resonated deeply, offering insight and perspective on my journey of letting go and moving forward. I found solace in writing, pouring my thoughts and reflections onto the pages of a journal. It became a sanctuary for processing emotions, capturing moments of clarity and introspection as I navigated the complexities of life after divorce. Through it all, I embraced the lessons learned from my past experiences, a commitment to authenticity, resilience in the face of adversity, and a deep appreciation for the journey of self-discovery. As I looked ahead to the future with hope and optimism, I knew that each day was an opportunity to embrace new beginnings, cultivate meaningful connections, and savor the beauty of life's unfolding chapters. The journey through divorce had been a transformative chapter, a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the resilience of the heart. As I embraced the possibilities of what lay ahead, I knew that I was ready to write the next chapter of my life with courage, gratitude, and an unwavering belief in the power of new beginnings. As I reflected on the journey of the past year, a sense of gratitude washed over me. The tumultuous emotions that had accompanied the divorce had gradually given way to a deeper understanding of myself and the world around me. I found solace in the quiet moments of introspection, taking time each day to meditate and journal. These practices became anchors in the stormy seas of change, offering clarity and perspective as I navigated the complexities of rebuilding my life. One afternoon, while hiking along a rugged trail in the mountains, I paused to admire the panoramic view spread out before me. The world stretched out in all its natural splendor, the verdant valleys, the azure skies, and the distant peaks kissed by the sun's golden rays. In that moment of stillness, I realized how far I had come since the days of uncertainty and heartache. The journey had been challenging, filled with moments of doubt and reflection, but it had also been a catalyst for growth and transformation. I thought back to the lessons learned during my marriage, the importance of communication, the value of compromise, and the resilience required to weather life's storms. Those lessons had become guiding principles as I charted a new course for myself. Friendships had blossomed into a supportive network of companionship and understanding. We shared laughter and stories, celebrating milestones and offering solace during moments of vulnerability. Their presence had been a source of strength and encouragement, reminding me that I was never alone on this journey. Professionally, I embraced new challenges and opportunities with enthusiasm. The stability and fulfillment found in my career provided a sense of purpose and direction, reinforcing my belief in the power of perseverance and determination. Occasionally, memories of Emily would resurface, a gentle reminder of the love we had shared and the experiences we had woven together. I wished her well on her path, grateful for the lessons learned and the growth fostered through our time together. As the seasons shifted and autumn painted the landscape in hues of crimson and gold, I found myself drawn to moments of reflection on the passage of time. Life was a tapestry woven with threads of joy and sorrow, love and loss, a mosaic of experiences that shaped who we became. I cultivated a sense of gratitude for the simple pleasures of everyday life, the warmth of a cup of tea on a chilly morning, the laughter of friends gathered around a table, and the embrace of nature's beauty in all its forms. In the quiet hours of the evening, I often found myself sitting by the window, gazing at the stars scattered across the night sky. Each twinkling light was a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the interconnectedness of all living things. Through it all, I held onto a sense of hope and optimism for the future, a belief in the endless possibilities that awaited me. Life was a journey of discovery and growth, an ever-unfolding narrative that invited me to embrace each moment with gratitude and grace. And as I looked ahead to the horizon, I knew that I was stronger, wiser, and more resilient because of the challenges I had faced. The journey through divorce had been a chapter in my life, a chapter that had taught me invaluable lessons about love, loss, and the transformative power of forgiveness. With a heart full of gratitude and a spirit renewed, I embraced the next chapter of my life with courage and determination. For I knew that the best was yet to come, and that each step forward was a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the resilience of the heart.